Hi everyone, I think I'm live. Welcome to another one of our LinkedIn live events. And today's topic is going to be on making career transition easy. Now, this is something that I have spoken about in bits and pieces in the past, but we haven't really done a proper live event on how do you make a career transition and what it should ideally look like so that it is easy for you, right? Before I start, I'll just quickly check if my audio and video is fine, and then we are going to begin. And if you're attending it for the very first time, you can ask me as many questions as you want. You can either comment down where the live is going on or you can DM. And if you're watching this as a recording on YouTube, then you can just again comment down if you have any questions. Or you can also be inside our personal growth community called the Safe Space. So you can also directly connect with me on WhatsApp. Or if you're somebody who would like to do one on one work with me personally, you can just book a session. Okay. Trying to see. Okay, yes, I think it's going fine. Okay. Yes. Let's hope the internet is fine. All right. So, when it comes to career transition, a lot of people tend to think that it is something that is a very big deal. It is something that you have to really, really think about, or it is something that's very rare, and that um, a stable career means that you take one industry or one job at when you are 21, 22 years of age, because that's when most people start working, and you just stick to it for the rest of your life. A lot of people's idea of stability is that, but that's not actually true. Career transition is nothing but a change that you make in your career trajectory, either laterally, right, in the sense that you are in the same role but you're shifting positions, or it can be a dynamic shift or a complete shift in the sense wherein you're completely changing your role in industry and you're just completely changing your profile, right? So career transition is something that is a part of your life, and it is something that you are going to undergo whether you like it or not, because when you do your first job at 21, you're very naive. You don't really know a lot about yourself or about the world. You just go with the flow. You just go with whatever people around you are doing, or whatever you think is right with the limited knowledge that you have. And then over a period of time, you learn, you grow, and you see, and you find out that this is something that works for me and this is something that does not work for me. So career transition is going to happen. The only difference is that either it can be very messy and emotionally draining for you, or it can be something that is structured, right? Because change is a very beautiful thing if you plan for it. If you don't plan for it, it is going to feel like destruction. But if you plan for it, it's going to feel like evolution. And today we are going to talk about career transition from a place of structured change, and not something that makes you feel, oh my God, what is happening? Because a lot of people tend to think that when it's time to listen to their inner voice and really shift, evolve, and make modifications in their career path, they tend to think that, I'm not being stable, or, I'm not sticking to something that I ideally should, or why am I having doubts and stuff like that. And you have to realize that anybody who has had a successful career, okay, I'm not talking about a mediocre career, I'm talking about a successful career. A successful career does not mean making a lot of money, right? It means making good money, but also enjoying your work, right? Actually doing meaningful work. If not 100% of the time, at least 80% of your career, you were happy with what you were doing, right? That's a successful career. You will find that anybody who has had a successful career is somebody who has made a lot of career transitions, right? And that does not mean that they're unstable. So if you are somebody who is at a place in their life wherein you don't feel fully aligned with where you are in your career, and you really want to change something but you don't know where, how, or probably you're questioning that, I'm not stable enough or I'm not consistent enough, please understand that every 3 to 5 years you should have this internal thought that, you know what, I want to do something different. It means that you are growing. If you just go with the flow, then you're a dead fish. Okay, dead fishes go with the flow. People who are consistently improving won't change because they keep on outgrowing their environments. So please understand that career transition is a part of your life. It is not something drastic. It is not something uncertain. It does not mean that you're unstable. It simply means that you are a growing human being. You should be worried if you stick to a job or a career for the rest of your life without ever having the thought that, you know what, I can do something else too, or that, you know what, I would like to try other things. That is when you should be worried. That is when you are signing up for mediocrity, right? Which means that just going with the flow, you're a dead fish, right? Now it doesn't mean that you have to change. If you're finding growth in your existing role, or if you're running a business, if you're finding growth there, and if you're really really enjoying, and if you see that it is satisfying you, then great, you are at a great place. But if you don't find that, and you still somewhere are either passive, or you force yourself to stick to it because you think, oh, I'm being stable, then no, you're just a dead fish, right? You're not really growing. So, coming to what is exactly career transition. So, the difference between a career transition and a drastic career shift is whether it is structured or not. A career transition is structure. A career transition is a structured change mentally, emotionally, financially, and strategically, which means that whenever you do make a career transition, either in the same industry or in the same role, or maybe it is up, down, vertical, lateral, wherever you are moving, it is structured, it is planned. It is not something that you do out of the blue. It is not something that you wake up one day and you decide, that's it, I'm quitting my job, or you wake up one day and decide that that's it, I'm quitting my business, or that I'm just going to go and become a musician, or I'm going to go become an astronaut or an engineer. Nothing, these things do not happen overnight. And which brings me to something that I was probably going to talk about later, is that if you believe that one day you will wake up motivated and things will change, please understand that is not how career transition work. Okay, maybe you see that in movies, that one day you wake up and everything changes. No, change happens in stages, specifically changes that are sustainable, lasting, and does not shake your entire life. Okay, if you are somebody who comes from generational wealth, has absolutely zero responsibilities and no accountability, sure, you can destroy your life and you can do whatever you with it, because there are no repercussions to anybody else. But if you're somebody who does not come from a place like that, and you actually have responsibility in life, then you have to understand that motivation is not how you make career transition. Career transition is something that you make from a place of planning and structure, right? So that is what a career transition is. And again, I will reiterate, it is a part of your life. It is not something that only happens to people who are unhappy. It is something that happens to people who want to evolve, who want to grow, right? And career transitions don't mean that you're completely changing everything about your life. Career transition can also mean that I'm moving into a different role that feels more aligned with me, or I'm just moving laterally in the existing organization that I'm working in, or maybe I am taking up a dynamic role that combines the existing skill set that I have, and maybe I have to add on more, right? A drastic career transition, which is what people tend to think when it comes to career transition, is something where you're completely changing your entire industry. For example, it is something that happened with me. So I used to work in. I had a degree in psychology, and I wanted to do industrial psychology. And industrial psychology mirrors human resources in our country. So I ended up working in human resources. And when I did my first job and I did multiple internships, there was this certain voice that was growing, that kept telling me that, what, this is really not something for me, and it is something that's just not aligned. And then I made a drastic career shift. Not only did I go from being employed to being a business owner, I also changed my industry. But again, I would say it was not a drastic shift, because I'm still working in the mental health space, and I have studied psychology for 5 years, so somewhere it was still aligned like that, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that career transition is not something that happens through destruction. It is not something that you just wake up one day, I will change my life. It is a step by step process, and it is something that you do structurally, right? Now, how do you know that you require a career transition, right? It is usually it usually happens when you are at either of the two stages that we are going to talk about. Okay, just give me a moment. I think my internet is lagging. I just want to check. If any of you can confirm with me that my internet is not lagging, that would be great. Uh, I can't tell. Okay, yeah, I think it's fine now. All right. So, how do you know that it is time to transition? You are either at the two stages. The first is that you have simply outgrown where you are, right? What do you mean outgrown? It means that you've come to a point where you realize that you have more potential, you can do a lot more, and there's a lot more strengths that you have that is not being put to use, right? So you feel underutilized, you feel that I have a lot more energy, I have a lot more skill set, I have a lot more strength. So it can happen from a place of that, you know what, you are in a role where you feel that, you know what, I think I have the potential to do more. Or it, in the same role, wherein you may want to get promoted, or you may want to like go for a different company, or you may want to go for a more challenging role. Or it could also be that, you know what, I think the existing role that I'm in, it has done its job, it has served its purpose, and now I would like to experiment with my life, in the sense that I'm going to go and do something that involves using all of my brain, right? So when I was working in human resources, when I had a job, it this was a very strong feeling that I genuinely kid you not, I had this feeling that I'm using 2% of my brain. And that feeling became stronger and stronger every single day, the more I realized that there is so much I can do, but I'm unable to, because this job does not require that. This job requires only this percent of my brain. And I was feeling very dissatisfied with it. I realized that um, not only have I outgrown the role that I'm doing, this role will never really require 100% of my brain, right? So when you outgrow wherever you are, right? Maybe you have outgrown the culture, maybe you're not, satisfied with the culture, maybe you have outgrown the roles and responsibilities you are in, maybe you have outgrown the people, maybe you have outgrown the team. Outgrow can mean anything. It doesn't always mean that um, I don't like my work. It can simply mean that I like my work, but I think I can do more. I like my work, but I think I have the potential to do a lot more. It could also be that, you know what, with whatever it is that I want in my life, I don't think the existing role that I'm in, be it a business or a job, it doesn't really matter. I'm speaking to everyone here. It has served its purpose now. Or that, you know what, I think I am unable to grow fully with the environment that I'm in. For example, a lot of times you may also outgrow the culture you are in, right? Sometimes cultures become toxic, teams becomes toxic, managers become toxic, wherein you may feel like, my growth is stunted here. So in that case, you've simply outgrown, so it is time for a transition, right? Now the second area, or the second scenario where you may require transition, is when you are in an unaligned career path. Now, unaligned career path, and this is something that I've spoken about before too. If you haven't checked out my previous live events on career, please do. I will also share a playlist of all the events I've done on career, so it's easy for you to find. I'll post it today. But unaligned career path basically means that you are in a career that you don't feel aligned with mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. What do I mean by this? So sometimes, when we start out our careers, we are pretty young at that time, when it comes to our first jobs, and we end up taking something that we may not feel fully satisfied with, we may not fully like, or we may not even fully feel aligned with. We may do it just to meet our urgent needs, like, I just want to make money, or I just want to get this done because I feel FOMO, that all of my friends are doing jobs now, or that, I just want to move out of home and I just want to get a job somewhere. So whatever your reason could be, right? There are many times that you may end up choosing a career path, not because you want to do it, but because it is a need of the hour, right? Or it could also mean that you thought you liked something, you did it, and then you realize that you do not like it. This has been a story for a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients have come to me with from this place wherein they felt like, Rianshi, I'm procrastinating, I'm dissatisfied, and I don't feel like working anymore, can you help me with it? And whenever we would dig deeper, we would find that my clients simply don't like the roles they're in anymore, right? And as I told you that I will tell you a couple of client stories today along with this live event. So here's the first story. So there is this client I worked with, I think 2.5 years back, and this particular client came to me with a very specific problem. This client told me that, Rianshi, I have a problem with time management. No matter what timetable I form, I just don't follow it. Just to give you some background of this client had just moved to Europe, and they were promoted. They were leading a team of 12 people, and they had moved there with their family, with their wife and their kid. And this promotion that they got is something they had been working for 3 years, right? So it was basically a dream scenario. Yet in the first consultation call I was having with this person, they kept telling me that, Rianshi, I have a time management problem and this and that. Now, if you know my work and if you have attended my classes, my workshops, there's something that I always tell. which is that a human being can never have a time management problem. It is always a lack of alignment problem. So when we dug deeper, what we found was that my client was consistently struggling with anxiety around going to work, and that anxiety would eat up their entire day, which made them believe that they have a time management problem. But in reality, the problem was that they were consistently anxious about work. So we thought that anxiety was an issue. We started working on it. The more we dug deeper, the more we found that my client was anxious because they hated the role they were in, right? Which brought us to the reality that my client loved being an individual contributor. They ended up getting promoted to a leadership position because they thought that that is what, an ideal career path looks like. You go to a leadership position. All of his friends were doing it. All of the people around him told him that this is the next step, and he felt very motivated by it. And of course, the fact that he's working in a first world country, the fact that it was his dream city, and all of that stuff made it, a full package. So he never understood, or he could never understand that, or even accept that, what, I don't really like what I'm doing. And when I say don't like what I'm doing, I don't mean the work. He loved his work. The fact was that he hated managing people. He did not like being in a leadership position. He did not like managing people. So it took us some sessions for us to get to that point, and then it was a very eye-opening moment for my client, because that explained everything. That particular truth of his life, that I think I've made a mistake and I do not want to lead a team, really, opened his eyes up to the fact that he was working for other people's idea of success. He did not like being in a leadership position. He thought that that is what an ideal success path looks like, that is what an ideal career path looks like. So when we came to the point, we, of course, there were some complex feelings involved. He felt guilty about accepting it. He felt like, people will perceive him as a failure if he goes back to an individual contributor position, and all of that stuff. We worked through it. But I just want to tell you that, you know being feeling unaligned at your career path can look like this, wherein you feel that I don't really know what's not clicking, but it's just not clicking. And it may manifest as different behaviors, which we are going to talk about, the signs that shows up when you really need to transition. But unaligned career path can look like this, right? It may not essentially mean that you hate your work. It means that something is not clicking, and it is very hard for you to decipher it on your own, because you're in your own head, right? It's like, a doctor can't operate on himself. So sometimes it is very, very difficult to figure out your own thoughts, and that is when inner work becomes so, so important, right? That is when you save years and years of your life, right? That would have gone to waste if you would have avoided it, right? For example, I once worked with a person who stayed in a job for 6 years. They did not like, because they thought that if they switched, their relatives and their parents would look down on them, because it was a typical, fang job. So when we started working together, and this is a different client, not this one. When we started working together, it was around, I think, third or fourth session, where this client told me that, Rianchi, I wish I did this work a few years before, because now I regret it even more that I spent years working here purely because I was afraid of judgment. See, it's not like he did not have the talent to switch. It's not like he could not do it. The fear of judgment was so crippling, and because his self-worth was tied to other people's perception of him, that he felt paralyzed. He could not move, he could not transition. So when we did inner work, we worked on healing his childhood trauma. We worked on the childhood trauma wounds he has been carrying and stuff like that. When we worked on it, ultimately it came to a point where he was not only able to switch, he was able to tell confidently to his parents and his relatives and all of that. And surprisingly, he found that everybody was okay with it. Nobody was really bothered, right? In fact, his parents told him that we just care about your happiness. The point I'm trying to make is that when it comes to your career, you have to understand that career transitions are a lot more about how you feel and think about it, rather than anything else. When you are not mentally and emotionally prepared, it is going to look very haphazard. You're always going to be scared. You're always going to feel like, I don't know what's happening, right? So when it comes to making career transition, make sure that you have complete clarity. So just to help you out, I'm doing a masterclass in from 13th to 15th of March. It's called Unblock the Career Design Masterclass. It's going to be a 3-day experience. It is specifically designed for people who want to take the reins of their career, who do not want to go here and there searching for what is right for me, but have the clarity and the skill set to design their own career path. So if you're interested in attending that, you can find the link to it in the feature section of my profile, or you can also DM me CDM, and I would be happy to send you the link. Now, As I was talking about unaligned career choices, right? So unaligned career choices simply mean that you have made career choices that you no longer feel aligned with, you no longer feel happy or satisfied with, right? You have this consistent inner voice that tells you that, you know what, this is not something I want to do, right? And this doesn't always have to be a very loud voice. It can also be a very faint voice where you feel this dissatisfaction rising, this discontentment rising, right? Now let's talk about the signs that shows up that should tell you again, right? Because it's a bit difficult to say that whether I'm unaligned or whether I've outgrown. So let me talk about some signs that will show up, which will tell you, which means your body's communicating with you that, you know what, I need a change, that you need to really change something about your career. Okay, before I do, I'll just quickly check if we are doing fine internet wise. Okay, so we have some questions. Can I question? Yeah, of course, you can ask any question that you want. What practical steps would you recommend for moving from mid senior roles to executive roles, especially for professionals working in operations or production? So, I will come to the practical steps part. Okay, this is going to be something that we cover after 15 minutes. Let's first talk about the signs that tell you that, you know what, you are ready for a career transition or that you need to make a career transition, right? Okay, now there are two types of signs. Okay, one is the category of constructive signs, another is the category of destructive signs. Now we go to the destructive signs part when we haven't listened to the constructive signs part yet. So let's talk about the constructive signs, wherein your body is in the initial stages of telling you that, you know what, you are ready to shift, you are ready to switch. The first sign is that you are getting feedback from yourself as well as other people that I deserve more, I have more potential. It could be other people telling you that, you know what, you have a lot more potential, or you could be doing a lot more, or that, you know what, you are really really good at this, I think you can try this and that. And you know, for these feedback you have to keep an eye out for it. People may not always tell you outright, so you should also be seeking feedback wherein you ask people that when you're consciously asking people as to how you are doing work wise, or is there something that you could be improving, or the fact that there is something more you could be doing, right? Sometimes you will be lucky enough wherein people will come and tell you that, you know what, you are doing really really great here, you could be doing more. But sometimes people may not, so you have to keep an eye out for here. And that's why another sign is you yourself have this feeling that, you know what, I deserve more, or that I have more potential. That's a feedback form wherein your body is telling you that you are ready for more, you are ready for a change. The second sign is that you are able to recognize your own potential and you're able to spot what is the exact change that you can make, right? So here you have some idea of what you have become good at, and you're able to spot that, you know what, this is something that I can build up on. This is something that I can really, really amplify, or this is something that this is something that I can go out there in the world and make more of. Right. So, for example, let's say when you are in your first job, you do a lot of things, but by the end of it, you realize that there is something that you're really, really good at. For example, when I was in my first job, I realized that I'm not very good with admin and whatever HR related tasks there are for it. But the one thing that I'm really, really good at is emotional management. What I'm really really good at is empathy and understanding people's emotions. So that when that became clear to me, I capitalized on it, I built a career around it, and now I am a full-time life coach and business coach, right? So the point is that when you are able to recognize a skill set that you're really really good at, that also tells you that it is something that you can take and run with it, right? The next sign is you simply have the desire to do more and be more, right? Sometimes you may feel that, you know what, I think I'm meant for a lot more. I think I can do a lot more in terms of impact, in terms of skill set, in terms of maybe leading, in terms of whatever, right? When you simply have the desire that I want to do more, it is enough for you to take yourself seriously. Something drastic does not have to come and tell you that, oh, you can change now, right? Or you are ready for a transition. Now let's talk about some destructive signs that tell you that you really really need to do something about wherever you are in your career. The first sign is going to be, and this is a very obvious one, is procrastination. Now procrastination happens in some levels. Okay, when you are procrastinating just for a very specific task or for a very specific activity, or for a very specific skill set that maybe you don't feel aligned with, or maybe you feel bored by, that's still okay. But when you consistently feel like I just don't want to do my work, you are missing your deadlines, and you simply again and again feel like I just don't want to do it, it's a sign that you are in an unaligned career path. It means that the work that you're doing is something you don't want to do, right? And I often tell my clients that if your body is consistently avoiding something, maybe take a moment, stop trying to force it, go within and ask yourself that what could be the reason it is avoiding, right? What could be the reason that my body absolutely is repelling the work that I want to do, right? Because there it will tell you what exactly is the root cause. A lot of people, jump into making other lifestyle changes. So I have seen a lot of people tell me, and it is a bit funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it makes me laugh a little bit. And I'm really sorry about that. I have I have had people tell me, Rianshi, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Yet, things are not happening. And I often tell people, why would you think that if you made lifestyle changes, it will make you interested in a job that you don't want to do? Why would you think that if you woke up at 6 a.m. or you are eating clean, you're going to the gym, you're doing yoga, you are doing whatever, it will somehow solve your underconfidence, it will somehow solve your people pleasing at work? It will not, right? These are issues that require inner work, right? It's like me saying that, um, I want my hair to grow, so I will wake up early in the morning and somehow it should do it. No, great. If you are making lifestyle changes, that's great, but it does not solve the problem that is at the core of it. So, if you're consistently procrastinating your work, the answer is not to keep on making timetables. The answer is to sit with yourself and ask, why do I hate it so much that I want to avoid it? Or what is making me avoid it? And if you don't know how to answer that question for yourself, hire a coach, work with a professional instead of wasting years and years of your life. But if you consistently feel the need to procrastinate something, it means something is not sitting well. And you really need to find out your own truth, right? The second step, or the second sign, is when you have mentally checked out. Basically, you don't have the desire to put in any effort in your job anymore or your business anymore, whatever you are doing, right? This is when you essentially feel like, I just want to do the bare minimum and I hope that it is enough, or I just want to do enough that I just skate by. When that is happening, it means that you've started to emotionally and mentally check out from your work, right? And over a period of time, when you don't address it, it can grow bigger and bigger. Now, it may not essentially mean that I need to completely change my field or whatever. It could simply mean that there is something that you're doing right now in your career, or the way things are happening in your life, that is making you mentally and emotionally check out from your career, right? It's not normal. There's something that's not sitting well. So again, reflect, go within and ask yourself, what is making me just skate by? What is the truth about my career that I'm not accepting? What is something that I'm really scared to accept about my career reality right now? That will answer your question. For example, for me, when I was doing my job, at that point of time, I was supposed to go for my master's abroad in human resources, and a truth that I was running away from was that I don't want to do this. That the master's application that I've worked for 1.5 year, and I got into one of the world's top 10 universities. I had already paid 1.5 lakhs of deposit, and my parents were also preparing for me to send there, and everybody knew and everybody was excited. I was also excited, but the more I did the work that I was doing, the more I realized that I've made a mistake. That I have planned to do a master's in a field that I don't like, feel passionate about, or see a future in. It took me a while to accept that, but when I accepted it, there was this huge weight that lifted off. Of course, there were consequences. There was self doubt. There were a lot of things, and that is why I worked with a coach so that I could work on it. But the point is that if I wouldn't have accepted that truth, I was on the path of taking out an education loan to sponsor my masters there. That entire thing would have costed me 40 lakhs. It would have costed me another 3 to 4 years to recover the loan and everything. It would have costed me money, time, and more importantly, my self esteem, right? Because when you don't accept your truth for a very long time, you start to lose trust in yourself, right? So when you're not willing to accept the truth about your career, that there is something that's not sitting right, when you don't do your inner work, when you run away from it, when you avoid it, there is a price you pay for it. I have faced that. A lot of my clients have faced that. But the thing is that when you do the inner work, right, that is required for you to believe in yourself, that time and the pain gets shortened. right? When you're able to accept your truth, when you're able to really really see things for what they are, you're able to shift your path. It is only when I accepted my truth that you know what, wherever I am right now, whatever I'm doing, it's not working for me. It created a lot of space in my life to really ask myself, what is it that I really want to do, you know? If I had no boundaries, if I had no restrictions, if I had no fear, what would I like to do? And that is when my business came about. It wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have accepted my truth. And that has been the case for a lot of my clients too. So if you don't feel this energy towards your career, if you feel like, you know, I just don't want to do it, then something is not sitting right and you really need to work on it. And if you don't know how to, take help instead of wasting years and the time, money, effort, whatever is going, right? Now, lack of interest. Now, lack of interest is also an extension of the point I've mentioned here, lack of desire towards making any effort. Lack of interest is simply where you just don't have any interest in what you're doing. Maybe you find it boring, maybe you find it repetitive, maybe you find it whatever, right? Again, ask yourself, what can I do about it? So, again, lack of interest again does not mean that I have to just switch my job or I have to switch my field. It could simply mean that I need to just do a different kind of work, or maybe I need to do a different project, or I need to take up something else, right? The next point is an inner voice that keeps telling you that I don't like this, I don't want to do this, I don't see my future in it, right? When this is the consistent voice in your head, it also means that something is not sitting right, right? And the next point is when you have to constantly push yourself, you know, every single day you have to push yourself that no, I have to do this job, I have to work for whatever reason. Maybe you're doing it for money, maybe you feel like you have no other option. Whatever the reason is, when you have to constantly push, it means that you have come to a destructive point in your career where it is not working for you. And you know, pushing is not a sign of resilience, and this is something I talk about often. Pushing just means that you have a goal that you don't feel aligned with enough, because you know, when you are in an aligned career, your vision pulls you. Like, you remember when you are young and you make plans with your friends to play. Maybe you used to play cricket, maybe you used to play something else, whatever you used to play. Did you ever feel like somebody had to push you out of bed? No, you would wake up, and you would wake up on time, you would do whatever chores you needed to, and you would go out with your friends to play. What is that? That was also a goal, but a goal that you felt aligned with, right? So when your career goals are actually aligned, you don't need to push yourself like there is a rock and you have to push yourself, push that rock up the hill. You will know, and you will automatically want to wake up, you will automatically want to move towards your goal. That is what an aligned career goal does. It pulls you instead of you having to push, right? And pushing again leads to burnout and exhaustion. So if you've reached that stage, then again you should know that by now that something is not sitting right. The next sign is when you don't have any purpose or goal for staying or doing what you're doing, which means that when you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Right? You don't have a clear answer apart from, let's say, I'm just doing it for money, or I'm just staying here because I don't know what else to do. When you don't have a clear purpose, when you don't know why you are doing what you're doing, it has again come to a point where you've reached a stage where it's just something that's not working for you, you know? So these are some signs that you have to keep a lookout for that warrants career transition. Now let's talk about how can you actually make a systematic shift towards making a career transition, right? So for example, you have come to a point where you feel like, okay, yes, I do want to make a shift, but how do I do it, right? Okay, before I move forward, I will see if we are doing fine. Okay, let's answer some questions. I was anyway going to talk about this topic, but let's answer some questions. Somebody has asked, what practical steps would you recommend for moving from mid senior roles to executive roles, especially for professionals working in operations or production? Now, let me tell you something interesting about career transitions, okay? The more labels you add to it, the more it'll feel like there is something special you have to do. There's nothing special. It does not matter what field you are in, right? It does not matter what designation you are at. Career transition, the steps towards career transition are pretty similar. Okay, so if I were you, if I were at your place, the one thing that I will stop looking at myself is my designation, and second is I will stop looking at, you know, what field I'm working in. I would simply look at a systematic approach. The first thing that I'm going to do, which is what I'm going to talk about right now, which will answer your question, is the first thing to do is you have to ask yourself is that what is the value you would like to add to the world and in what capacity. Now what do I mean by this? See, the simplest definition of a career is value you are adding to the world that is making somebody's life easier, right? At any point of time, we all are doing just that. That is what we call a career. Now you can do that as in the capacity of an employee, you can do that as a capacity of a business owner, you can do that as a capacity of being a partner to someone, whatever. The point is that you are solving a problem. So whenever you are wanting to make a career transition, right, and this is also the answer to the question somebody is asked right now, ask yourself, what is the problem that you want to solve? In what way do you want to add value to the world? Right now, whenever you are thinking of any promotion, any transition, what you're essentially saying is that I want to add value to the world in a way which is different from what I'm doing right now. Which means, for example, let's say you are eyeing for a promotion. Now when you're eyeing for a promotion, it means that your responsibilities may increase, and it means that you are looking for you know you are looking to contribute in a way that is varied, that has more responsibilities, that has more weight, whatever. Please please take note, I'm not mentioning more money. And this is something I just want to mention as a caution. If you work for money, you will forever feel lost in your career. Please understand that money is just a simple byproduct of creating value. The more value you create in the world, the more money you will make. So if you look at your career just from a place of what will get me more money, you will forever feel lost. You will forever feel that you're mediocre. Always ask yourself, in what way do I want to add more value to the world? So if you are moving from one position to another position, either in terms of promotion or in terms of a different role or in terms of a different industry, ask yourself, in what way do I want to add value to the world? First question. Second, in what capacity? Now what do I mean by this? The answer to the first question, what way am I going to add value to the world, is going to help you identify the role that you want to perform, which means that it could either be a role in the same position, in the sense that you are getting promoted, or it could be that I want to completely change my company, I want to change my industry, I want to change my role. But in what way? A question that I often like to give to my clients is that, is there a dream job that you have, or is there a dream role that you have in your mind that somebody else is doing and you would love to do? Like, is there someone, is there something someone is doing, and when you look at them you feel like, I would love to do this, right? That will help you get more clarity on what is the role you would like to do, right? And that could be in the same industry or some else industry, some other industry. That will answer the question, what value. Now in what capacity? Now what do I mean by this? See, we all have different capacities, okay? Sometimes we may feel that I really want to, let's say, okay, let me give you just a real life example. So I also run a training monetization program for life coaches, okay, which means that I work with people who want to transition into life coaching full time. They get certified, they get trained with me, and then they also learn to monetize their business. So even when people are transitioning into life coaching, some people want to do it full time because that's what their capacity is, whereas some people want to do it part time, whereas some people don't actually want to make money from it, but they simply want to just be a practicing life coach, right? So everybody's capacity is different, right? For example, when I was transitioning to a full-time coaching business, I also first started with doing it part-time, and then I transitioned into it full-time. So the point I'm trying to make is that your capacity towards the way you want to add value to the world is going to be different. For example, you may be thinking that, what, I really want this promotion, but when you ask yourself, do I actually have the capacity to take on the roles and responsibilities this role demands, you're going to get an answer to it. Either the answer will be, hell yes, I'm ready for all of it, or the answer will be, not completely sure. So therein you will have the answer to what is the level of responsibility you are ready for. And this goes for changing an industry or changing a field also. For example, let's say you are somebody who works in tech and you want to be a musician, right? And you ask yourself that, okay, you have identified that I want to add value to the world by creating my own music. Now what is your capacity? In what capacity are you willing to do it? Can you be a full-time musician? Do you have the capacity for it? Or maybe you want to be a part-time musician, or maybe it is something that you right now only want to pursue as a hobby. This is a very important question, because unless we don't answer this question, we can't move to another steps. So identify the value you want to add to the world, and please don't think about money right now. It's the most stupidest thing you can think about, because money is just a byproduct of how excellent you are at what you do, right? So focus on mastery, focus on how amazing you can become at your skill set, right? Now, coming to the next point is, researching and gathering resources. Now, when you have identified your capacity and when you have identified the way you want to add value to the world, now you have to research and identify what are the resources that you need for it, right? So when we identify what is it that we want, we may not have complete information about it, and this is where you need to go into the research mode. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't actually research about the field that they actually want to transition into. So if you have not done that, please do. Now, how you can research? There are a few normal things that you can do. Read more about it, read trends that are going into the that are going in industry. Talk to more people who are in the industry that you want to transition into. For example, something that I did was I spoke to a lot of life coaches, practicing life coaches, when I was transitioning. And something that you can do is you can read more books on it, you can research, you can read articles, you can read pioneers in the field itself, right? So these are ways that you can research. The second part of this is resources, which means that what are the resources that you're going to need to deepen your research, right? Which could mean that you have to connect with people, which means that you it may involve taking up some courses, which may mean that it may involve taking up certification, whatever is required, right? For example, when I was researching, I found out that I want to be inside a certification program that teaches me to become a well skilled coach, right? So this is where you need to get into the research mode and identify what are the resources you need. The second step is to seek mentorship, and this is something that again a lot of people don't seek, but I highly recommend it because I found that it works 100% of the time. See, the easiest way to transition is to have someone on your side, right? So if you can find a mentor in the industry that you want to transition into, it's going to be great. So a mentor is basically somebody who is 5 to 10 steps ahead of you, who's somebody who has done exactly what you want to do. So for example, let's say you want to be a musician, so find somebody you can get mentored, find somebody who has followed the same path, as in they were also probably working in corporate or maybe working somewhere else, and then they transition into becoming a musician. Can you take mentorship from there? Or maybe somebody who is a great teacher, or somebody who runs an academy, or maybe enrolling yourself into coaching programs wherein transition like this are made easy, because that way you don't feel lost and you don't feel alone, and you are getting real time guidance, right? So find a mentor who can help you go from A to B. And mentor is somebody who's already done it for themselves, right? Now, the next step is understanding your skill gap. Now, you have to understand that whenever you're going from A to B, there are certain skill set that you do not have. And the best way to find out what is the skill gap is first, research what are the skills that are required. Second, talk to the people who are doing what you want to do. For example, when I was transitioning from being in corporate to having my own life coaching business, I spoke to many life coaches and I asked them that what are the skills that is actually required, and I made sure that I spoke to both kinds of people who were life coaches who were not making money, as well as people who were life coaches who were making money, because I wanted to be in the latter one. And the more information I gathered, the more I understood that what are the things that I really need to have. And then I also enrolled myself into coaching programs. I also got coached so that I could understand what are my skill gaps. So here your research plus talking to more and more people who are doing what you are already doing will help you understand your skill gap, right? It will help you understand what are the skill set that I already have, what are the skill set that is required, and what is the gap. And this gap tells you what kind of skill set that you need to develop. It could involve either taking up certification courses, it could involve maybe doing taking up projects, it could involve taking some mentorship, it could involve connecting with other people, whatever. This brings me to another point also. A big thing that also helps when you're making a career transition is having a lot of conversations. The more conversations you have, you can also call it networking. I just find that word very superficial, but it could, like, networking is nothing but just striking more and more real conversations, okay? Not stupid transactional conversations, but real conversations. So when you're making career transition, make sure that you're talking to more and more people who are working in the industry that you do want to transition into, because that gives you real time information and real time experience of people who are already doing it. Because not everything on Google, not everything online is right. The more conversations you have, the more it kind of shapes your worldview, right, um, into something that is dynamic and diverse, and not something that's just copy pasted from the internet. Now, the next thing to pay attention is to your level of commitment to the transition. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, what tends to happen is that sometimes we either underestimate or overestimate the amount of commitment we need to make to the transition that we want. So, for example, there was a while back somebody told me that they wanted to do something in the entertainment industry, and they kind of underestimated the amount of commitment that they needed to transition from being a corporate guy to completely going into the entertainment industry, right? Similarly, when I was transitioning from being a corporate employee to setting up my coaching business, I thought it would take me a very long time. I thought it would take me years before I make any money, or it would take me years before anybody takes me seriously. So I overestimated it. But the more I started making the transition, the more I realized that I was overestimating how much time it would take and how much effort it would take. So the point I'm trying to make is that, understand the level of commitment that you need to give. Now, how do you understand the level of commitment? Again, the same thing. Talk to people who have done what you've already done, and not just one person. Talk to multiple people to have a worldview of things. Second is, if you can, get mentored or coached, right? That again helps you in defining, because again, right, a real time person is telling you, who's already done what you have done, what level of commitment you can expect. For example, when people enroll into my program LCTM, I always told them from a very realistic perspective how much time that they need to give to their practice, and how much commitment that they need to make, because a lot of people come with very hazy idea. So you need to really understand your level of commitment, and then you need to decide whether you're ready to make that commitment or not, whether you are ready to make the time and effort and energy for the transition. And the last step is to give your transition a timeline. This is again something a lot of people don't do. You need to really really put a timeline that by this time, by this in this many months or in these many years, I will make the transition, right? So for example, if you're planning to start a side hustle, give your side hustle a timeline that by this many months, I will make sure that I have one paying client. Or if you are transitioning into another role, give yourself a timeline that by this month I will make sure that I have given this many interviews. It's very very important that you give yourself a timeline, right? Now, let's talk about what are the possible and the most common roadblocks that happen when people are transitioning, right? Okay, before I start with the next topic, let me see if we have any other questions. Okay. So the question is, how can one identify the skill gaps during a career transition, and what's the best way to build a realistic learning roadmap while working full time? So there are two questions here. Okay, one is how do I identify the skill gap. Second is how do I make a learning curriculum for myself. Right? Very very good questions, but and very simple questions. The first, how do I identify skill gap? Now, to identify skill gap, I first need to identify what is my end line. Right? So for example, um, let's say right now I'm a life coach, okay, and there is a certain type of work that I do, and let's say that I want to do a different type of work, and I am saying that I want to grow as a life coach. Now, grow is a very this word, what do you call it, vague word. I have to really put in I have to put in very specific terminologies. What exactly am I looking for? Is there a specific revenue I'm targeting? Is there a specific niche I want to work in? Is there a specific kind of impact I want to create? So the very first thing you need to identify is what exactly is the role that you want to transition into, right? What is the role that you're targeting? So first is that. Second is, you have to ask yourself that, are there certain skill gaps that I can notice right away, because there will be some things that will be very visible to you. The second thing is, again, following the same roadmap, research about the field, research about it, read about it, and see what are some common themes that I'm seeing that are coming up again and again. And third, and something I always recommend, talk to people who are in the field that you want to go into, who are in the role that you are eyeing for, and ask them, talk to them, right? Talk to them about, what is the skill set that they are regularly using, what are the skill set that they believe that you would require. Tell them about your journey, right? Have more and more conversations, because it's always nice to talk to somebody who has real time experience of whatever you're doing. And again, please talk to somebody who has done what you're doing. Don't talk to a random career coach who has never done what you have done, but they're just saying random things like saying that, optimization and what do you call it, having executive presence and stuff like that. All of this is bullshit. Okay, anything that you need to develop, it needs to be very specific, right? So go and talk to people who are in the role that you are doing, and ask them what are the skill set that they have had to develop when they were in your position. right? So seek mentorship, right? Or be inside programs that tell you, or that teach you how to go from x to z, x to y, right? Now when it comes to learning roadmap while you're full-time working, so again we'll follow the same steps. When you have identified your skill gap, you will understand a few things, that there are certain things you need to do to close that skill gap. Now how do we close that skill gap? A few things. First is obviously learning. You may have to take up some certifications, you may have to take up some courses, you may have to pick up some projects. The second thing is also when somebody has to like some people also do apprenticeship, where they basically shadow some people, or they are in roles where they're not essentially getting paid for it, but they're just working for the experience of it. So whatever is required to close your skill gap, you have to identify that. Second is you have to put a very realistic timeline to it, uh, according to the life that you're living. See, we have to understand that we live a very full life. If specifically if you're somebody who's married with kids and everything, then you definitely have a full domestic life also. So you have to realistically ask yourself, how many hours in a week can I dedicate to my learning, right? And make sure that you're not making it ridiculously tight packed, right? For example, let's say if you're working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that leaves you no time during the weekdays, right? But let's say on the weekends you're able to take out 4 hours every weekend, 2 hours on Sunday and 2 hours on Saturday. So right now your learning capacity is 4 hours every weekend. So you have to realistically see that if I can give 4 hours every week to learning or to doing this certification, how much time am I going to need to make the transition smoothly? Could be 5 months, could be 6 months, could be a year, whatever it is. So based on that, you create a learning curriculum for yourself, right? You define a timeline, and you start slow and you build up, right? You see what is your capacity of learning, because again another thing to keep in mind is that when you're working full time, sometimes um, we kind of uh, lose touch with learning. So it takes a little bit of time to get into the habit of it. So it's very 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 important that initially for the first 2 months you're allowing yourself to get accustomed to the routine, to the learning curriculum, and to the fact that now you're also transitioning, or you want to transition into a new identity, right? Again, as I said, right, it doesn't really matter what role you are in. Transition looks pretty similar for everyone. It's not something special. Now there are certain skills that you need to develop, which I will be talking about right now, which comes under the possible roadblocks that often happens. Okay. Okay, so another question is, what are the most common mistakes people make during career transition? That is exactly what I will be talking about right now. Okay, before I do, just give me a few seconds. I will be back. Okay, I'm back now. So, the first and the most common, yet the most ignored area that people make mistake in is underestimating your emotional preparedness. Now, let's understand one basic thing. Okay, career transition means change, and people perceive change differently based on the level of emotional safety you have inside of you. If you are somebody who is very anxious as a person, if you're somebody who perceives change as a threat, if you're somebody who ties their self worth with money, success, change will always feel threatening to you. So whenever you are planning a transition, maybe you have done everything, you've planned for it, you have the mentor, you have the courses, you have the resources, you have a coach, you have done everything right, and yet the moment you start preparing, you suddenly start getting thoughts, oh my god, what if I fail? What will people think of me? What if this doesn't work, or what if that doesn't work out? The moment these thoughts start, the first thing you will do is quit. That's the first thing you're going to do, or you will start procrastinating. A lot of people don't understand emotional preparedness. See, career transition is less about the skill set that you need and more about the emotional preparedness of it, because your emotional preparedness affect your self belief, affect your confidence, affect your conviction. So ask yourself that when I think about transition, what are the first emotions and that come up to me? What are the first thoughts that come up to me? Do I deal with fear? Am I noticing anxious thoughts? Am I noticing thoughts of disbelief? Am I noticing fear of failure? What am I noticing? Because if you don't work on this, all of everything that we have spoken about for the last 50 minutes, excuse my language, is bullshit. Okay, if you don't do the inner work that is required to make the transition, everything is useless. And that is why you will see that if you don't do your inner work, constantly you will deal with the same problem every year. I have had clients who have done that. I have had clients who prepare for changes, but the moment they think of a change, thoughts come in and they drop it. So, in this case, it's very, very important that you do trauma work, because when you are unable to make changes that you want to make, it means that there is a past, right? There are past beliefs, there are wounded emotions that are holding you back. So it's very, very important that you do trauma healing work so that you can release all of this, right? Another thing that I want to talk about emotional preparedness is that anything that you're not resolving in your personal life will also spill into your professional life, right? So I have worked with clients who are incredible at what they do, but because their personal life is hell, that unrest, that restlessness, that anxiety also comes into the professional life and it gets affected, which again comes under emotional preparedness. You can't expect that I will ignore my personal life and I will just completely go into my professional life and everything will work out. It doesn't work like that. Okay, your nervous system, your body is only one. Okay, so when you are switching from personal to professional life, it doesn't become a chameleon, it will spill onto it. So make sure that you are taking care of other areas of your life, and you're not expecting that you will somehow expect your career to solve everything. When people say that I went through a breakup, so I threw myself at work and everything solved itself. No, it doesn't work like that. Believe me, I can tell you as a professional, it never works like that. You are going to put all of that emotional pressure onto your professional life, and that will also start getting affected. So ask yourself, are you emotionally prepared for it? Do you feel fearful somewhere? Do you feel that you will fail? Do you feel that I'm scared of judgment? Whatever you're afraid of, ask yourself and work on it. And this is where deep inner work comes from the picture. I'm not talking about talking therapy, I'm not talking about just sharing your feelings. I am talking about releasing trauma wounds from your body, and that only happens in trauma informed coaching, right? The second thing to talk about is the second mistake that people make is not focusing on who they need to become. Now let me give you an example. Okay, let's say that I am a coach right now. Okay, and I want to be a musician. That's a transition I want to make. Now, to become a musician, I have planned everything. I have planned that I will enroll into a nice class, I will have a mentor, I have prepared for the time and everything, all of it, right? But the one thing that I don't account for is the person that I need to become. To become a musician, I also need to have self belief in myself that I'm good at what I do, right? I need to have confidence. I think there's something wrong with the focus. Okay, I don't know what it is. I need to have confidence. I need to have self belief. I need to actually feel secure and safe within myself to go out there, to be on stage, to put myself out there. But let's say I don't have that. So what's going to happen? All the training that I do to become a musician, all the training that I'm doing to train my vocals will go to shit, because I am terrified. I'm terrified of going on stage. I'm terrified of putting myself out there because I've not worked on my confidence, because I refused or I ignored the fact that I have to become the person, right? Become a certain kind of person that attracts the kind of success that I'm looking for. I can't be an underconfident musician. That's the truth of it. So, for example, if you're also transitioning, and you're looking for a better pay, you're looking for better responsibilities, and if you know that you're underconfident, you're a people pleaser, you feel very scared in front of authority figures, it's not going to work out for you, because you're still not the person that you're supposed to become to get to that promotion or to get to that change, to get to that transition. So ask yourself, what are the qualities I need to develop in me, in my personality, that I don't have yet, right? And again, this is where you do inner work too. This is where you need to do inner work so that you can develop the self confidence, conviction, or work on the fears that you have, right? Which brings me to the next point, which is working on the childhood trauma wounds that consistently manifest as career blocks in your life. See, we all have certain patterns. Okay, we all have certain patterns that we are somewhere aware of, that they keep on repeating. Maybe for you it is people pleasing, or for you it could be that you have an unhealthy relationship with money, or that you keep on burning out, or that you have a habit of tying your self worth with success, whatever it is. If there is a certain pattern that that has repeated in your life, don't expect that it will suddenly go away just because you have planned a transition. It will still be there. So make sure that you do inner work so that you can release these childhood trauma wounds, and actually move forward. You know, most people don't quit in between the transition because they are not talented enough. They quit because their past emotions, right, the trauma wounds are so strong that they're unable to move forward. See, when you're moving forward, right, like imagine this is the future, this is the past. When you're moving forward towards the future, the the past can either be something that's very heavy, that's pulling you back, or it is something that's not pulling you back. You can only move forward smoothly when your past is not pulling you back. When this is very heavy, right, and past is heavy when there is unhealed trauma wounds. When past is heavy, you will take 4 steps forward and 3 steps back, 6 steps forward, 5 steps back. And that is why it becomes unnecessarily hard. Career transitions become unnecessarily hard when there is unhealed trauma wounds here. And for this, you need to do one on one deep inner work, right? Not talking, not motivation, not gaslighting yourself into believing everything is good, but actually doing real work, right? And this is exactly what I do with my clients too. So if you need help, you can always work with me too, or you can work with anyone else, but please work on it. Don't expect that a consistent pattern that has been there in your life will suddenly not be there. Don't ignore the person that you need to become to attract what you want. I once had a client, and this is again a different client, who was great at what he did, but every single time he would be in front of an interview, he would be in front of an interviewer, he would become tongue tied. Because of this, he consistently got underpaid because he felt like he could not ask for the pay that he deserved, because he had a poor relationship with money and he felt underconfident. When we worked on it, not only he got a 150% hike, he felt that he could ask for anything that he want, right? Now, it is not like there is something magical that we did in our coaching sessions that gave him some extra talent. The talent was already there in my client. We worked on his conviction, we worked on his confidence, we worked on the inner child wounds that were stopping him from going after what he deserved. The point is that it's not really the talent that stops us, right? It is the fact that we are unable to ask for what we want, we are unable to move forward without the baggage of our past, right? So, to make your journey easier, to make your journey smoother, make sure that you're not carrying past baggage. Make sure that you're not carrying unhealed childhood trauma wounds. And if you ever feel like, I don't really know what childhood trauma wounds I could be carrying, I have a free 4-day boot camp called Healing Childhood Trauma. Please go and watch it. You'll have a lot of insight on that. And I've done a lot of live events on career. I've done it on fear of judgment. I've done it on relationship with money and a lot of stuff. I will share the link of the YouTube playlist today in the evening, but you can find all of them in YouTube. That'll give you a lot of insight into what could be the trauma wounds you could be carrying. And whenever you feel ready to work on it, you can always drop me a DM, or you can book a session. And if you are interested in understanding how to design a career path for yourself, you're very, very welcome to join us in our masterclass that is happening from 13th to 15th March called Unblocked. All right, that is what I had for today. I hope that I could be of some help, and I hope that you got some clarity on how to actually make a career transition. Please understand that all of our journeys are very personal and very individual. So don't try to compare your journey with somebody else, or don't try to apply random advices on yourself. Make sure that anywhere you are taking stuck, anywhere you're feeling stuck, take help. Okay, don't try to prove something to yourself and make your life harder. It never works out. I've been there, I've done that, does not work. Okay. All right, we'll see if we have any more questions, and then we will bid a goodbye for today. Okay. During a career transition, how should we position our CV and LinkedIn profile to highlight transferable skills instead of past job titles? Great question. So the CV and the LinkedIn profile are two different things. Okay. CV, so it is often said, and this is something that is coming from real life experience from me, that whenever you're creating a CV, you create a CV for the job that you want, not the job that you had. So you have to identify what are the skills that you have practiced in your past job that seems relevant to your next job. So you put that into your CV, not skills that are not relevant. Okay. The second thing, when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, talk a lot more about the things that you that are related to the transition that you want to make. So this essentially, positions you as an expert, or this essentially positions you as a person who knows what he's talking about. Because a LinkedIn profile can be a great selling point, right? A LinkedIn profile can be a great place where you show how you think, how you solve problems, and how you are as a person. So talk a lot more about how you solve problems, how what is your way of thinking, how your approach is, and this related to the job that you are targeting for. So that again makes your LinkedIn profile a great selling point. That's from my experience. You can research more on it, of course. Okay. I don't think we have any more questions. And again, if there is any more, please feel free to DM me anytime. I always reply. And if there is a specific live event that you would like me to do, certain topic that you would like me to discuss, I'm always open for suggestions and you can always DM me. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye.